Good evening, everyone. Welcome you all for 73rd session of the weekly huddle. Most of the audience are well known. We know that weekly huddle is an casual interaction that we do. We've been doing it for quite some time now, where we pick up a topic and we try to discuss about the topic around it. Most of the time, it's a medical topic, and sometimes we also try to discuss something off label, like one of the sessions which we are trying to do, though this is still related to medical profession, and it's an audience level discussion, so anyone is free to talk, but please wait till the other person is finished and feel free to share your opinions and make this discussion more interactive. So today one of the things that we are discussing is about an indemnity insurance, about whether doctors should have indemnity insurance and what are the nitty-gritties on taking an indemnity insurance if we are thinking so. So I think Dr. Anoop can highlight the case, and then we can take it forward from there.
Thank you, Praneeth. As you all know, the format of this platform is just a general interaction rather than a more presentation based. So we will be taking opinion from our colleagues about what they think about this very important aspect of us being a healthcare professional. And then I am also delighted to say that we have Dr. Neeraj Nagpal here with us. He is an expert in this field. So we will take Dr. Nagpal's opinion on this aspect as well. And hopefully during the session, if Dr. Nagpal could also introduce us to the Medical Legal Action Group, which I believe is a platform that most of the doctors should be aware of. So just a brief introduction. My name is Anoop Agrawal. You just heard Praneeth. We both are cardiologists working at Care Hospital. So what I typically do is, for all of this, I always bring a medical case so that we have a discussion around that rather than a vague topic. Because today's discussion was not a clinical discussion, but more of a professional discussion, I still wanted to bring it like a case that we describe. So Praneeth, this is the situation. I'm asking you to whatever knowledge you have regarding this, and then we can discuss nitty-gritties of indemnity insurance around it. And truly speaking, the reason why we thought this topic was important to discuss, because in the website medicaldialogues.com, which I believe a lot of you are aware of, I was browsing through the website, and one of the topic that caught my attention, and then the title of the topic was, should doctors' hires or doctors' offsprings, should they continue to take or to renew the indemnity insurance even after the demise of the doctor? And that caught my attention. Let alone continuing indemnity after demise, I wasn't even sure how many of doctors have indemnity at the time when they are alive and actively practicing. And this was, to me, was a little bit morbid in terms of after the doctor's demise, the one more thing that the doctor has to ensure about, that his indemnity insurance or her indemnity insurance is up to date. Because to my understanding, I don't think there is any other individual professional who takes indemnity insurance in India. I'm talking about architects, or there are a lot of independent consultants. I don't know if anybody takes indemnity insurance. So that was the thought process, which I thought maybe let us just discuss about it. And then we'll briefly touch upon the original topic that I read, which is, should we really be talking to the point where we make sure that our indemnity insurances are renewed even after our demise? So that's kind of the background to it. So Praneeth, this is a case, and this is one of our colleagues you can think of, and then tell me how you would go by it. So he's a 38-year-old male. He's actually one of my colleagues. He's an internal medicine doctor. I wouldn't say the name. He had never got an indemnity insurance. He's practicing for about 8 years now. And his current status is that he visits in 3 different places. he has privileges in one hospital, that is, let's say hospital A, where he goes in the morning, sits there from 9 to 12. He has got a IP and OP privileges there. Then he takes a short break. Then he goes to another hospital, let's say hospital B, where he also has got IP privileges and also does his own OPD. That is from 2 to 5. Then he has got an evening clinic, which is there literally just next to his house, where he does his own clinic from 6 to 8. So he's kind of giving his professional services at 3 different places. 2 of those places he's as a inpatient and outpatient consultant, and one of them is his own clinic. So he is for the first time considering buying a professional indemnity insurance. So far he never thought about it. So how would you advise him? The questions that we are trying to discuss is, should this doctor take indemnity insurance? Second, what should be the essential elements you would advise this guy that, hey, do these things, just like how we do for car insurance. Make sure you take nil dip, make sure you take this and that and all this. What are the essential elements you can think of that you can advise to your colleague? And third question is, who all you think should get indemnity insurance? Is it for every doctor? Is it for every healthcare provider? And lastly, how to ensure you check all the right boxes in this regard in terms of when you are applying for it or whatnot. How do we make sure that we don't make a fool of ourselves, get an insurance and it be of no use to us? So how are you going to guide to him based upon whatever knowledge you have got? Praneeth, floor is yours, and then I will ask my attendees after that, followed by Dr. Nagpal's professional advice.
Yeah. So this patient, like any medical profession, I would suggest him to take indemnity insurance because of the awareness or whatever we talk about it. The risk of falling into any such issue is definitely there, and unfortunately the fine that is imposed or the settlement that is done is usually high. So we wish we do not want to fall into these things, but there is definitely some probability. It's something like an accident which can happen and you take a life insurance or something like that. And similarly, because we are practicing as a profession, there is a possibility of getting into an accident, like someone suing you for issue, and from getting out of it to make sure you are okay, not taking a big hit. I believe that insurance, indemnity insurance, will help. And regarding taking him insurance, I think because he also runs a clinic, there his responsibility will be more because he is both the owner of that clinic and also a practicing physician. There, that responsibility will be even more. So I think he also needs to take care of insurance as a owner of that clinic as well as a hospital. And the amount of insurance probably depends on what is his practice like and how many risky interventions he is doing, or something like if he is a surgeon versus a physician. You said he's only a physician, but again depends on how many complicated cases he is trying to handle. Probably equally the amount of coverage should be equally be decided upon that. Regarding the what are the things that you need to look into from the insurance point of view, I believe the insurance first thing is about the coverage, then second thing is about the access of help of a lawyer, whether the insurance company will help you find a lawyer where when you end up having a trouble, will there be a help from the lawyer. And the few of those things I'm not completely aware, which equally I want to get myself updated here, is about that coverage, like how much is the insurer going to give you and how much we are going to pay from our pocket, kind of a thing. Similar in terms of health insurance, where is it like a co-payment or not, whether 100% is the insurance giving you or you have to take some responsibility. But few things even I want to learn from today's session. And I believe every person who is in the healthcare delivery will be responsible and can be equally be held responsible if there is any mishap happens. And every person, including a student or a resident or even nurse for that matter, can be accused or can be brought into interrogation, and everyone should probably get indemnity insurance provided you're okay to take it. But at least from the doctor's point of view, because you should be okay to afford them, I would say each and every doctor, right from the time of MBBS, should take indemnity insurance.
Sure, Praneeth. Actually, Dr. Nagpal has to leave, so I will get Dr. Nagpal's thought in this. Sir, let us just assume this is the kind of doctor that I explained, that I described, comes to you for your opinion. How would you guide them? And if you could just give us some pointers that we can use for our further discussion. Dr. Nagpal.
First thing, Dr. Anoop, thank you for having me. The first thing I will tell this person is that he is a stupid fool for having been in private practice for past 8 years without indemnity insurance. This is something which is totally unacceptable in today's day and age, number one. Number two, when you take an indemnity insurance, especially if you are shifting from one insurance to other, please make sure that you get your retroactive date entered in the indemnity insurance. In this particular case, which you have suggested, there is no retroactive date because the person has never taken insurance prior to this. So this is the first insurance he is going to take. The article which you raised in Medical Dialogues was written by me. And the issue there is that these indemnity insurances are of two varieties. One is claim made based, the other is event based. Event based means you have operated today, a problem has occurred and a case has been filed against you, and the insurance company which is covering you on the date of cause of action is the one which will provide you the services or will pay the compensation. This is event-based indemnity insurance. This is something like accidental insurance of motor vehicles. The claim-made based policies like the professional indemnity insurance which are there in India, this means that you may have operated in 93. At that time, you may have been covered by New India Assurance. Person gets an ultrasound in 2002. And finds out that you have left a mop inside. So he came to know that you did negligence in 93, but he came to know in 2002. And he is now filing a case in 2004. So when he is actually making a claim, the insurance company which is covering is the one which is supposed to provide the cover if you have got retroactive date entered in this policy. I hope some kind of understanding is there on what I'm trying to say. Basically, the company which is giving you coverage when you receive the claim or the notice is the one which is supposed to cover and pay the compensation. But if you do not get retroactive date entered into this, then under those circumstances, you are in for trouble. Your other question was, what kind of insurance, how much insurance? Insurances, basically, there are 4 categories. A 5th category is added for cosmetic surgery by some insurers where they charge the loading, but otherwise general physician, then there is a specialist physician, then there is a surgeon and plastic surgeon oblique anesthetist. These are the different rates, slabs, and what we suggest is that people who are MD medicine physicians doing any procedure interventional, that may be endoscopy, that may be some MD medicines, maybe practicing nephrology or maybe doing dialysis or whatever, minor surgical procedures. All these people who do minor surgical procedures or interventions should take in the category of surgeons, not in the category of medicine. Similarly, cardiologists who are DM after MD, they may not consider themselves to be surgeons per se, but for the purpose of the policy, they have to take the policy of the surgeons. That the category, the rate slab is different between a physician, a consultant physician and a surgeon, and any MD medicine who's doing intervention of any sort should be taking a policy for a surgeon's category. This is something else you people have to keep in mind. Number 3, if you're practicing in a city like Hyderabad and your policy is less than 1 CR, Again, that is toilet paper. It has of no other value. So no policy today should be taken less than 1 CR. And what we usually recommend is, instead of taking one large policy, you should take 2 or 3 smaller policies of, let's say, 20 lakh, 30 lakh, and 50 lakhs, so that the total is 1 CR, but take all 3 from the same company. Now you will ask why I say from the same company, why not different companies? The reason is, when you go to court and you tell the court, I have policy of 1 crore with me from New India Assurance, the judge and the members of the commission, they feel very liberal. You are covered up to 1 CR. So if 20 lakhs is awarded or 50 lakhs is awarded, you are not going to have to give from your pocket. So it is all right. Which, if you give them a policy of 20 lakhs, they are somewhat morally bound to keep the compensation within check. They are not so liberal with the compensations which are awarded. But supposing you have 2 policies from 2 different companies, and you give only one policy in the court, then later on, if the compensation awarded is more than what is the limit of your policy, the company will refuse to pay, and later on you cannot claim that I had not attached this United India policy with the documents, because United India will clearly say that we have not got any chance to defend. So if you have taken 3 policies from the same insurer, then under those circumstances, later you can say, I had by mistake not attached my other policies, and my total is, let us say, 50 lakhs or 1 CR. And so the amount should be paid by the insurance company. Insurance company has no excuse, because even for the policy of 20 lakh, they had gone ahead and they had got a chance to defend themselves. So the company has received a notice, has got a chance to defend itself, and it is the same company which had the additional cover. So this is a kind of a strategy we recommend doctors should adopt to avoid very large compensations being awarded against them. But this does not mean that you should have a policy only of 20 lakhs. It means the total number of policies should total around 1 CR, and they should be divided like the way I have said. Any other question? The issue regarding after death, the point again, there is the claim made based policy, where today I am practicing, I operate today, I do a colonoscopy and the perforation occurs today. The patient has a right to file a case against me up to 2 years after cause of action, or like I gave the example of discovery rule, up to 2 years after he discovers that I was negligent. So then under those circumstances, the notice may come after my death. And if I am not taking any indemnity insurance at that time, after my death, there is no indemnity insurance standing in my name, then my family members may be required to defend the case without having a safety net of a indemnity insurance. So we have asked under RTI this question to IRDA, New India Assurance, all these insurance companies, and they are giving a standard reply that this is a hypothetical situation. I agree this is a hypothetical situation, but it is a very serious hypothetical situation, which sooner or later will get somebody into trouble. So we do need an answer to this, whether we need to continue taking the indemnity insurance even after death. There are many pitfalls when you are taking an indemnity insurance for the first time. You mentioned the person has visiting rights in 3 hospitals. Kindly write down the number of the hospitals' names wherever you are going visiting, because we have number of cases where the insurance company has simply denied paying compensation based on the fact that on the proposal form, you have mentioned only 1 hospital, and here you are going to 3 different hospitals and operating other places. So unless and until your policy document says all over the country, all hospitals over the country, then under those circumstances, the indemnity insurers will deny having to pay any compensation. Number 2, when you are taking a error and omission policy for your own establishment, now you are the owner, you are having an establishment, and this is not a different hospital where you are going as a visiting consultant. Please make sure you pay 7.5% extra for unqualified attendants, because we all have these people who are working with us. All of them may not be qualified. And while transferring, the helper may slip and let the patient fall from the wheelchair or from the trolley and suffer a fracture. And in this circumstances, you are nowhere involved in the treatment or in the what has happened. So in those circumstances, it will be the establishment which will be named as opposite party. And if you do not have error and omission policy, and if you do not have unqualified attendant care cover, then under those circumstances, you will land up into a problem. So Anoop, I'll just request if there are one or two questions, I will answer those before I leave.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much. I actually noted down a few questions because you probably have to leave. So I can't have the audience discussion for you. Question number one, you said to enter the retroactive date in the second policy. Is it something that the insurance companies readily do it, or you have to fight for it?
There is no fighting for it. There is a column, unless basically you have to attach the previous policies, which in continuation since when you are taking regular policies. If there is even a single day lapse, then they will not give the retroactive cover from the beginning. They will give retroactive cover only from the day when you have renewed the policy after the lapse. So if you want retroactive cover for the complete time, you will have to specifically mention and give continuous policy documents from the time you have first started taking. So this is something they are supposed to do, but they will try and avoid it unless you insist on it.
Sir, second question is, you mentioned to enter all the hospitals where you have privileges. Is it again something that changes insurance behavior in terms of premium or whatnot, or this is pretty standard?
We have number of cases where doctor has written, let us say, Ramkishan Hospital. Actually, the place is Ramkishan Medical Institute. For whatever reason, there is a different name, and the insurance company simply wants to somehow deny any liability which arises against them. So these are the small things based on which the companies deny liability. We have a case where hospital took policies for 6 ophthalmologists working in the hospital. Then the ophthalmologists went and conducted a camp outside. And in the camp, problems occurred and cases were filed. So insurance company says, we have covered only for the hospital where you have mentioned these people are working. We have not covered out for the surgeries they do outside. Hence, we are not going to give compensation for that. So this creates a problem. We take indemnity insurance for help in time of trouble, not more trouble in the time of trouble. So it is always better you be very specific and clear when you are filling the proposal form. I mean, this is a very, very long lecture, but then in short, this is what I can explain.
And sir, the last question is, you mentioned about taking 3 insurance so that we can kind of rationalize the award. Isn't this something that court also knows? And then later on, when we say, oops, we had a clerical mistake, the court could say that, of course, we know.
Absolutely all right. But the thing is, where have we lied? We have told the court we are covered under with New India Insurance. You understand my point? We have given a policy document of New India Assurance. Later, we are saying we did not give all the policy documents by mistake, but all of them are of New India Assurance only. So New India Assurance doesn't have any argument left except to pay, because you have already named New India Assurance in the case. Problem will arise if you have 2 insurances or 3 insurances from different insurers. Then, of course, the insurance company you have not named originally will deny liability. But if you have the same insurer, then under those circumstances, yes, because I give these lectures across India, so many judicial officers also have heard this thing. So I don't deny your apprehension that courts also know this, but it doesn't matter. Because what we are doing is not strictly illegal. What we are recommending is not strictly illegal. Ultimately, we are giving the insurance company an opportunity to defend itself. This is what is the principle. So if you take multiple policies from the same insurer, just make sure, because some insurers will refuse to give you multiple policies on the same date. So under the circumstances, 2-3 days gap can be given. And at least at Medical Legal Action Group, we have negotiated our policies with United India, and we give policies like this. There is no problem.
Sir, thank you so much for your time. I know that you have other commitments. We would love to have you continue for the next half an hour, but I know you have to leave. In case if any of my attendees have any questions, which I would like to forward it to you, I'll send it to you and hopefully we'll get some resolution later on.
No issue. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nagpal. Okay, so that was Dr. Nagpal. He, I believe he leads the Medical Legal Action Group. And I got introduced to him through the MLAG lecture series itself. So if any one of you, they're interested in it, it's a good place to at least Google and learn some of the basics of it. Let me get back to my attendees about the overall discussion of how we look at indemnity insurance. We have got actually a variety of doctors in our attendee list today. Let me start with Dr. Shankar. Dr. Shankar is a general physician who is practicing in one of the tier 2 cities. Dr. Shankar, you don't have to answer whether you have liability insurance or not, but what is your overall take as a general physician working in a tier 2 city about the overall inclusion or overall acceptance of professional indemnity insurance amongst doctors? Dr. Shankar.
Good evening to all. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
See, in my past more than 42 years of my medical career, I never opted for a professional indemnity policy. Because of many reasons. So far in my long career, not even a single threat or a small complaint was lodged against me in this long medical career. So that made me to be away from this professional indemnity. But now the patients are considered to be litigant unless otherwise proved, because of many reasons. The patients are ignorant, innocent, illiterate on one side, and at the same time, they are intelligent enough, Googling and interfere with the and our decisions and make messy. And there are poor doctor-patient relations are there, and lack of communication skills, consumerism and the commercialization, medical negligence, act of omission and commission, and exorbitant hospital charges, unrelated third-party interventions. They are not in any way related to the party, but third party will enter into this thing. And not least, but not last, but not least, is a professional rivalry or professional jealousy. Because our own doctors, they pass scathing remarks on the previous doctor's diagnosis or prescription. And gradually, somehow the moral values in the society are also vanishing. As usual, as a reflection of society, the same thing in the medical profession too. So you can disagree to agree my observation. Overall, the society has lost faith in the medical profession and has become hostile towards the medical profession. Even the police, judiciary, press, revenue, even our own kith and kin, nobody is sympathetic towards our medical profession. So, because of all these things, now I decided to, just now Dr. Nagpal told, nowadays every patient should be considered a litigant. So in this COVID era, because of teleconsultation, though we have got some protection, half-hearted examination with lots of fear at the both ends, and we may miss something which amounts to medical negligence. So this year, I have decided to go for professional indemnity, as Dr. Nagpal told, to 1 crore. Though it may be, the premium may be, if it is in 3 categories, it may be more, but this is a must, because this policy at least make me comfort morally and as well as financially. If not, attacks on doctors or on the hospital property, I cannot escape even with this professional indemnity. I think only financially they may help. But if there is any damage on the doctor or on the hospital property, this professional indemnity will cover it or not, we don't know. This is my view, because now I have firmly decided to go for professional indemnity as it is discussed now, because even the lawyers also, they are following the doctor's car. Even by evening, they may find some amount of, it is not negligence, but the side effects and the adverse effects of the drugs, ineffective medication, in the diagnosis or investigations or in the management, there may be some lacunae, but that will be taken to task by these lawmaking professionals. So why should we take chance? So I would like to go for 3 category professional indemnity. So far, I thought I myself immune, but now because of this litigant society, and they lost the faith in the medical profession, and now it is so much maligned and vulnerable. Our profession is vulnerable, resulting in attacks on doctors and hospital staff, causing damage to our hospital property. So whether this damage is being covered or not, I would like to know in this professional indemnity course, if the August audience if clarifies better. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shankar. And I wouldn't call it a course. I was hoping if Dr. Nagpal could stay with us for the entirety, but he had to leave. I did attend some of the courses, and in one of the courses, Dr. Nagpal was there, and I did attend a few other courses. So while I do have some background knowledge of it, I by no means consider myself any degree of expertise into this. But you know, when a lot of people like us, when we sit and discuss, then a lot of ideas come, and we do end up leaving this discussion a little bit more knowledgeable than what we were before. So we heard Dr. Shankar. We have Dr. Krishna Mohan with us on the other side of spectrum. Dr. Krishna Mohan is a general surgeon who does a lot of bariatric surgery. So you can consider him as a specialist surgeon doing niche surgeries in a tier 1 city, that too in a corporate hospital like CARE. Dr. Krishna Mohan, what is your impression as a general about indemnity insurance? Again, you don't have to answer whether you have one or not, but what is your overall impression, particularly working like the way you do?
Good evening, Dr. Anoop. Actually, it is very enlightening when Dr. Nagpal was talking about something new I learned. Actually, I have my own indemnity insurance policy covered for the past 20 years. Out of this 25 years of practice. And 1 crore is the policy which I am holding. But Nagpal told me that error and omission policy that we have to take in addition to that. And also he said something like you need to pay 7.5% extra premium than the original premium. Anyway, these are the 2 points I learned in this meeting. Thank you very much for that. And I will look into that. I feel every one of us must have this indemnity insurance. There is no other go. The days are becoming too heavy on the mind of professional because of the odd situations and inadequacy about learning of the medical decisions. within our colleagues and even outside non-medical people, everybody is free to interpret your decision in this medical practice. So who is right, who is wrong, no one knows at that point of time. It all depends on the patient and doctor relationship and the trust factors. How best that we can manage. Also, that suddenly something, some misunderstanding may go to sixer, and people will come on to us in a different level. Luckily, by God's grace, so far nothing happened in my life, but nobody is immune to it. So we must be careful, and I strongly suggest every one of us must take the policy, and there is no second thought about it. And particularly physicians also, like interventional radiologists, cardiologists, and all other my colleagues, all of you are doing so many procedures. You are equivalent to surgeons. The moment you interfere with the body tissues, I think all of you need 1 crore policy, as Dr. Nagpal told us. And particularly, I feel in this practice, uh, the trust lines must be maintained, and also we must have an eye what our colleagues are talking about the practices and how we are practicing the medical profession. I think now, being a medical practitioner for more than 2 decades now, still I learn every day uh, how the medical fraternity is thinking about the practice itself. And on top of it, the corporate hospitals, administrations, how they look at us. So I think indemnity policy is a must. And more than that, we need to understand the meanings of the patient understanding. It is always we think that we have explained everything to the patient, but that fellow will be thinking about something else at that particular moment, maybe emotional, maybe fearful, maybe you see less of intelligence or inadequacy in comprehension. All these things may amount to misunderstanding, and that may lead us to trouble. So I always do, you see, a lot of pictorial diagrams I give, and I try to make them to understand. Sometimes I make them to draw the diagrams, what I told. In spite of doing all these things, sometimes they come back with questions or exactly what you told. So in these circumstances, I feel every one of us must have the policy, and we need to go about it.
Sir, just one question, since you mentioned that you have got policies for 20 years.
Yeah.
Is it the same company, or have you changed any company? If yes, why?
No, never changed. It
Never
is the
changed.
same policies, only adding the premiums. They are increasing the premiums. First, I took 25 lakhs in those days. Then I made it 50. And for the past 4 years, I think it is 1 crore.
And sir, my other question is, let's say sometimes, you are in a special surgery business. Sometimes you may go to another hospital to assist in some surgery, or sometimes like what Dr. Nagpal said about camps and stuff. Do you know if you are covered if you do surgery outside of your regular hospitals that you perform?
No, one more thing I learned from Mr. Nagpal is that we have to mention all the hospitals where all we practice. That's what he says. So if that is the situation, definitely we are, I don't know whether we are really covered, because we keep changing the hospitals also. It is not that in the same hospital we may be there for so long. So in that particular time, whether we have to give a communication to insurance company that from hospital A to hospital B, I have changed my practice from this and this date. And not only that, hospital C and D also, I am doing practice like this, like this. Is it that we need to give a communication to the specific insurance company about our practicing timings and privileges? That I wanted to ask Dr. Nagpal, but he left. But I think you can add a question to him that every time we change the practice premises, that we need to tell the insurance company that now this is my present position.
So, sir, this question was addressed in one of the discussions that I was attending, and the answer indeed is yes. That if there is any major change in your professional work, then that needs to be updated. In fact, he also says that if you do encounter any clinical situation where you think that this case may get in trouble, then the insurance companies do expect you to inform them at that time, even before a litigation has been filed. So insurance companies do like to be informed for any change or any event that occurs, irrespective of whether actual litigation has been filed or not.
But I have a question, because as a national faculty, I keep operating in different hospitals in this country. So it is like sometimes it is surgical workshop, it is sometimes actually it is private practice where I do operate in Aurangabad, Cochin, Ahmedabad, different places. You see, every time, I don't know, then definitely I may not be covered in those cases. Maybe that hospital fellow has to take care of whatever it is. That is also another I have in mind. I was thinking about it.
And I am pretty sure we are not covered when we do something like this.
Oh, okay.
Answer to one of your question about error and omission. So error and omission, or 7.5% loading, is actually done by establishment, not by individuals. Individuals do it only if the establishment is owned by you. So let's say if you have a small nursing home or a clinic that you run, then when you take insurance to include that establishment, there you take error and omission coverage. So it's something.
No?
Sorry, what is that?
So the same policy will not be useful in our clinic then?
No. So you have to take, so if let us say you have got a clinic that is owned by you, then you have got one professional policy for yourself and one that clinic takes it. And it is the clinic which is going to have error and omission policy.
Oh, okay.
Because the case will be filed against the clinic, not against you.
Correct.
And the same thing is, let's say if you are working at care hospital, then it is a care hospital which is supposed to take that error and omission policy. Because if let us say one of our mid-level provider makes an error which leads to injury, then the case will be filed against the hospital.
Okay.
Right. So unless the hospital has got error and omission policy attached to that, it won't work. For doctors, it is important to know, because a lot of us, we do have a small, lot of doctors, they own a clinic or they own a small center. So they do need to get protected from that aspect as well. Like, a lot of our doctors, they have daycare facilities and whatnot. Some of the nephrologists run a dialysis centers. Some of our some of our cardiologists, they have their own echo and ECG centers where there are technicians working. So all of them, they need to be covered in that regard.
I doubt most of them for clinics are not covered. I think everybody must take a policy then.
Yeah, absolutely. We have Dr. Rahul Agrawal with us. Dr. Rahul Agrawal is an intensivist working at care hospital. So again, I'm trying to look at different spectrum of the kind of doctors that we have within the limited time frame that we can have this discussion. Rahul, if you can hear me, could you please unmute yourself, share your thoughts about indemnity insurance for intensivists? Rahul, can you hear? Okay, maybe not. We have Dr. Santosh with us. Dr. Santosh is a junior consultant at Care Hospital. He's a cardiologist, but he doesn't have independent admitting rights yet. I think that part is coming very soon. Santosh, if you could unmute yourself, tell me, do you have indemnity insurance? Although there are no patients admitted under you right till now. There is no registration which is happening under you. Do you think you need indemnity insurance?
Good evening, sir. Sir, most of the time I'm part of intervention where we're doing together doing complex cases, and equally the second operator or as a first operator when you're doing patients, even if it is admitted other consultant. So we are equally responsible for any untoward complication occurs. So hence I got my indemnity bond done a couple of months ago, sir, after joining here. So I think it is very much essential, irrespective of whether you are admitting patient or you or not, till the time you are operating the patients or doing the procedure on them.
Okay, thank you, Santosh. I just want to highlight one more thing. about the litigation part of it, because US is a very strong litigant society. There pretty much the entire country is run by lawyers. So there is a lot of data that comes from US about how this patient litigation and everything works. And when they did a survey on all the doctors in that survey, not all the doctors in US, but in that survey, when they asked the doctors that of the patients who sued you later on, at the time of treatment or at the time of follow-up, could you anticipate that these are trouble patients? These are the patients who are at high risk to sue you later. And majority of the doctors, they actually said that absolutely no, they did not get any hint that this patient is going to file a lawsuit against me. Most of the doctors, what they found out, at least that is the story in US, may not be in India, but most of the doctors, they over-analyzed or over-appreciated or overvalued their relationship with what the patient perceives or what the patient's family perceive. And they, many of the times, had this notion that whatever is happening, they are doing pretty good. And even if an error is made or whatnot is there, it most of the time, patient was quite acceptable of it, and they did not really think that this case is going to go to the court. So that was one aspect of it, in terms of doctors thinking that because they don't have a lot of troublemakers in their panel, they are less likely to get sued. That myth was busted in the US research. The second thing also, which is very pertinent, which again, I keep putting this conflict of interest that it is a US data, may or may not work in India, that one factor which consistently improved the patient satisfaction or patient comfort and led to reduced incidence of litigation, and even if litigation was filed, a reduced incidence in the award or the penalty or whatnot, that was communication. Either before, during, or after the procedure or after the patient encounter, most of the patients, they appreciated the communication and honesty of the doctor, and that they accounted for whenever they were going for any kind of, or even when they were contemplating lawsuit and whatnot. Nothing else mattered. They looked at the doctor's celebrity status. They looked at how skilled the doctor is, how many procedures he or she performs, and all those things. And what they found out is nothing else matters. The only thing that matters is how truthful the doctor was, and whether the doctor was communicating everything that was happening in the real time. So that's the two important data set, which I thought I'll share it with you. If I may ask Dr. Somaraju sir, you heard the discussion, you heard what Dr. Nagpal had to say. What is your impression as a general about medical malpractice insurance? Is it something which was even there 30 years ago when you were practicing at your peak? Is it something that you think is a problem with the new way of working, or a modern healthcare problem, or you think this had been there since the time being? Dr. Somaraj.
Yeah, thank you, Anoop. And I must first admit my lack of say adequate knowledge and understanding of all these things that is going on in the name of this type of coverage. But I just wanted to say a few things. That is personal, and I don't want anyone to take it personally. It is my opinion, and it may not be accepted by everybody. Number one, the rest of the world, the medicine tried to imitate the West, particularly US, and then got into problems all along. And we have done it, and we got into it so much now that we can't come out of it. That is because we tried to imitate the US model of medicine. That is medical practice. Number two, the insurance companies, how they destroyed US medicine, I don't have to go into details, you know it better. And now, I'll tell you an example of a real patient whom in US, whom the doctor talked to the family and treated them well, and they have done otherwise very well, except some minor issue. And then the patient sued the doctor. And then the doctor met the patient and family, and when he met the patient told him, "You haven't done anything wrong, doctor. You have done a good thing to me, but I need money. That's the reason why I'm going ahead with this suit against you." Then, now that most of you want to insure yourself by 1 crore, that is the surest attraction for a lot of people to do all these things. That's number one. Number two, many of us also work under circumstances where the hospital management set targets for us, and they want us to do things that we otherwise don't want to do. And then in this atmosphere of doing unnecessary things just because we have targets, and otherwise you are not paid well. And secondly, the COVID, what we went through, was an opportunity for the profession of medicine to get back its trust, and also the hospitals. And COVID did something good. It showed healthcare delivery and medicine is extremely important. People can't get away without it. But they also realized they lost even the remaining trust in hospitals and also the medical profession. And now that you are insured for 1 crore, it's very tempting for most of the patients to do what they are doing in US. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think your points are absolutely well taken in terms of how insurance companies, I would say, be it healthcare insurance or be it professional liability insurance, they certainly are destroying, or they have already destroyed, the part of medicine that that we are supposed to practice. Having said that, it almost seems like that is the reality that one cannot get away with. It almost seems like that is how we are headed. While I don't like it, while I realize that that is the wrong way of looking at healthcare, I don't know how I can get away with that. In India, most of the healthcare related cases are fought in consumer forums. The same forum which also looks at why some car company is denying some repair of, let's say, a front light or an engine or something. So it's something like the same judge who is going to, or the same panel of lawyers and judges who are looking at car repair, who are looking at home civil, who are looking at why TV warranty is not being approved. They are also looking at a patient-doctor case scenario. So whether we like it or not, we are in a consumer society, and that is not the right way to do it. But other than protecting myself of this liability, I don't know of any other better way of handling this. I wish I could change the system. What Dr. Shankar was mentioning about the loss of trust and vulnerability, a lot of it is self-inflicted wound for the healthcare workers. I'm sorry to say that. But the way the world is evolving, not just for healthcare, but for everything else, we are going into a consumerist world overall. I remember about 5-7 years ago, airlines used to address us as passengers. I bet if you go to any of the airlines now, please pay attention to how they are addressing you. A lot of airlines have now started addressing you as consumers, as customers, not as passengers. So passengers became customers, patients became customers, everything else became customers. I'm sure over the time, even lawyers will start calling their plaintiffs as customers. This is not the right way. I totally agree with you. And the more and more insurance company takes over, the more and more like bad it's going to become. But I don't have a good solution out of it. I don't know if there is a magic bullet that one can take. We certainly need to do a lot of course correction, which unfortunately had been damaging to us for the past, I would say, a couple of decades, not just in India, but across. where some of the trust and some of the vulnerability is because of ourselves. So at least we need to get a little bit of our act straight. And over the time, we hope that we get out of this consumerist world, which, while I hope, I don't know if it is possible. Maybe for another couple of minutes, we can take opinion from the attendees. If anybody has got any thoughts regarding this, is there a way out it? Is there a way out of it? Somaraju, sir.
Dr. Anoop,
Yes, sir.
added to this, there is a problem of the legal profession, the lawyers and judges. They have very little knowledge of the domain knowledge of medicine, but they pass judgments, they argue with each other and with no knowledge of anything. And for all this to change, the legal system has to address itself to try to include some people from the professions. They try to judge. It's not only medicine, but other professions also. But the whole legal system in the world, whether it will survive, it's unreasonableness. I have my own doubts.
Somaraju, sir, I totally agree with that. In fact, I request I urge all the attendees today that if you have some free time, just download some of the final judgment which has been given by the consumer court. You will laugh at it. You will laugh at the level of understanding that the judges and lawyers exhibit over there in terms of healthcare. Now, while you can laugh at it, I do have sympathy because I know that that lawyer or that judge doesn't know how healthcare system works. They are working at cases of biscuit factories and soap factories and cars and TVs and whatnot. And between one of those cases, you have got a patient and a doctor. So I don't expect them to have all those knowledge. The only problem is these cases, unfortunately, are addressed at consumer court. They rarely go to the real court because the real court, the waiting time is God knows 10, 15 years for a murder case, let alone for a healthcare mishap. So most of these, they do go to consumer court, and the aim there, as you pointed out, many of the times is monetary gain, nothing else. And for doctors, even if we win this battle, many of the times it is the process which is more painful than the reward that the patient gets. So many of the doctors, they would like to settle the reward early on so that the process stops. A lot of these court depositions and summons, they're very painful to the doctors in terms of emotional and also interfering with their daily work and daily activities and whatnot. It's a major psychological trauma, particularly when you know that the lawyer and judges, they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. And that is not just in India. It is there in US as well. And I'm sure it is there in a lot of other countries. It's just that in US, you don't have a consumer court looking at it. You have a real court looking at it. And you do have a group of doctors who are expert in your own field, who do the so-called deposition for you or against you to say that whether you have done right or wrong. But there is a long way for us in India to go. And other than covering ourselves or securing ourselves, I don't see a short solution or a short-term solution for it. It is 8:05. Anybody has got any other thoughts before we start winding up this session? It's a very important thing, and I think 1 hour will not do any justice to it. But I do want people to start at least talking about it, at least discussing about it. Shankar sir.
Sir, one doubt. Instead of going for the private companies like National Insurance or New India Insurance, can we go for Indian Medical Association, which runs the same scheme, Professional Protection and Welfare Scheme, PP and W scheme, where at least professional bodies will be there to protect us. So is it ideal to go for that Indian Medical Association managed Professional Protection and Welfare Scheme? If
Sir,
anybody has got...
Yes. Sir, I'm glad you asked this question. So there are a lot of professional organizations in India who do offer these kind of insurances, and they actually are not offering insurance by themselves. They are the middleman. They are offering it through. So if you take insurance from IMA, You may very well be getting an insurance from New India Assurance as well. I don't know which company IMA is tied up to, but there are two benefits of going through these kind of societies. Number one is you get a group discount. You get, your premiums are typically lower because you are going through a group. That group has negotiated with that insurance company. That is one. And second, most of the time, if you are affiliated to a professional organization which is helping you to get the insurance, they typically have a small legal body that is ready to represent you in case if a problem has to occur. So now you have got a second safety net. One is the lawyers of the insurance company itself, who would try to protect you because it is in their interest for you to win. If you lose, the insurance company will have to pay. So insurance company tries to protect you as much as possible. But if you go through these societies, then you have got a second layer of safety. Now these societies also, because most of us, we go through a similar society, like, if I will go through Cardiological Society of India or whatnot. So a lot of us, we have our own affiliations. They also try to protect us through legal means or whatnot. So over the time, what I have learned is, as a professional, we certainly should go through one of these societies rather than going for an open indemnity insurance. That is my personal opinion about it.
Thank you.
Dr.
Thank you for
Dr.
your-
Anoop, can I add something?
Yes, Dr.
Dr.
Sandeep,
this-
please go ahead. Please go ahead.
This is a continuation of the query asked by Dr. Shankar sir, actually. Little knowledge I can shed to the audience regarding the IMA given indemnity insurance, actually. What I was told that the advantage of the insurance given by the IMA body over the other private insurances, one thing is they encourage out of the court settlements, actually. What I was told is, like, suppose there is an out of the court settlement and something like that, and the point is probably the private insurances will not identify that because nothing will be on paper. But I was told that the IMA body approves even that out of court settlements and everything. And being a doctor's monitored by the doctor's panel, even the approvals and everything, I was told that will be much smoother. These two things were the advantages what I was told by the person who has suggested me the IMA insurance. So I just thought I'll add it to the audience group. That's it, Dr.
Thank you, Sandeep. So this out of court settlement is not illegal, by the way. So if you have an existing insurance with even a private entity, they will help you with out of court settlement. That is not illegal. Just because a judge has not given the reward, that doesn't mean your insurance company will not help you with the out of court settlement. That is feasible. Having said that, the societies, they always kind of help you processing that. What you heard, Dr. Nagpal, he runs, it's not he runs, there is a group of doctors who have formed this body called Medical Legal Action Group, which has got a similar purpose. So basically you have a bunch of doctors who are negotiating a group price with the insurance company. And because while they are practicing doctors, they also have personal interest in these kind of litigation. So they are your best bet to go to in case if a problem occurs, because they are not lawyers. They are doctors like me and you. Like Dr. Nagpal is a gastroenterologist, he's a practicing gastroenterologist in New Delhi. But because he has a personal interest in this, he has got far more insight about these medical legal issues than what a lawyer can offer or what somebody else can offer. And by no means, he's the only one. I'm taking his name just because I had him over here. So his name is right off my bat. But there are a lot of such organizations. IMA is one of them. Medical Legal Action Group is one of them. And there are many others whom you can associate with. And as a general, it will be better. You will get a better premium there and you will get a better coverage. And most of these organizations like IMA and MLAG, they will not even allow you to take an insurance policy, which is not ideal, like what some of Dr. Nagpal was saying. And a lot of it we still didn't discuss about annual coverage and per event coverage and all this. A lot of this we didn't discuss out of our time. So a lot of these professional societies, they won't even have an option for you to take a suboptimal insurance. So if you go through a private party and if you want to, let's say, save money or whatnot, Some guy might just give you a suboptimal policy without knowing that it will be of no use. But these professional societies, they won't even have that option for you. So it's definitely a better safety net than going directly to a private company. I can assure you of that. So much so that my current liability insurance is through a private party, but I'm almost certain that when I renew it, I will go through one of these societies. That is my acquired learning over the past few months.
Thanks, Anoop. Thanks, Doctor.
One question that Dr. Praveen asked, what if the lawyers and judge ask for settlement after a case is filed, will insurance cover it? And Praveen, the answer is yes, it will cover it. Okay. Anybody else has got any other comments? If not, Praneeth, your closing comments, was it this non-clinical discussion? Is it something that keeps our interest up?
Good evening, sir. I'm Dinakar,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah, Dinakar, tell me.
Sir, I have small doubt. How much money that we have to pay yearly for covering 1 crore? Or any idea, sir?
Yes.
I don't have any idea.
Yes, I have an idea. So if you do 1 crore and if you take a very good policy, which has got everything which you want, then the overall premium is going to be somewhere between 15 to 20,000. Praneeth recently renewed. Praneeth, you renewed 1 crore coverage. How much did you pay?
So it was 15,000.
15,000. Dinakar, that is your answer.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So closing comments.
Before you say anything, I just wanted to say, those of us who work in hospitals where they set targets for asking this many tests and asking this many procedures, this many surgeries, you have to insist upon the hospitals paying all this. Thank you.
Definitely, sir. Point well taken. Praneeth, your comments.
Yeah, no, definitely a valuable discussion. I would say this is something which is not recognized by our medical profession, that this is something that we need to be aware of, and probably going one step forward, we all need to take it, because from a nurse to a consultant, nobody is immune and nobody can be escaped from the thing, because we are all part of the healthcare delivery system. And yes, the name insurance is something which we all hate, but no matter what, we have to go through these things, right from the car insurance to health insurance to life insurance, and probably in our thing, one of these things is indemnity insurance. We are special in our profession where we also need to take professional liability insurance as well. And this is something which will keep our so-called earnings or savings not lose at one go. And I think as important as other insurances are, probably this is equally important, where it kind of at least gives you some peace of mind, and it maybe covers you in case we hit with an accident somewhere by a person who thinks that we did not do justice to him. And yes, I'm glad that we are talking about these things, and with this session we could get some awareness of it, and I hope we do many more of these sessions where it will be useful for everyone. Thanks, Anoop.
Thank you, Praneeth. And the last thing that I want to add is there are so many things which we learn after we have graduated from our medical school and our post-graduation and whatnot. That's part of our real world learning. But a lot of these things are systematic in nature, like management skills, like personality build-up, like leadership skills, like emotional intelligence, like financial management, and on the same front, liability. I really wish a lot of these things should be included in our graduation curriculum, namely MBBS or what else we are graduating from. It doesn't have to be a complete course or whatnot, but I think students at a very early age should get a little bit of glimpse of what all these soft knowledge or soft skills that we all should have. And I believe that liability is one of such things that we all should at least get hinted at, so that we can think about it and learn about it as we grow. So I hope that this is something that we can discuss in the future about how we should include these kind of aspects in our MBBS curriculum. Having said that, I really thank all of you for sticking around 16 minutes past 8 for this very, very important discussion, which I think each one of us should be thinking about it, if not acting on it right now. And I really appreciate your inputs as well. If you have any further questions or suggestions or anything in this topic, you please join us in our WhatsApp group where we can discuss some of these aspects offline as well. Those of you who are not a part of WhatsApp group, I have shared the link in the chat box, so you can feel free to join. We do this every Wednesday, as all of you know, and we will see you next Wednesday with a new topic. If you do have any topic that you think we should discuss at some point, please feel free to share it with me, and I will try to include it in the future sessions. Thank you all. Really appreciate your input. Good night. We'll see you next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Thank you all.